Go.
Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, December 5th. It is now at 7:11 p.m. Town Council meeting, Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island. John, will you lead us in prayer?
Please rise. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening to ask for your guidance, your wisdom, and support as we begin tonight's meeting. Remind us that we are all gathered here for the same purpose, to serve the great town of West Warwick. Help us to engage in meaningful and productive discussions that unite us and strengthen us as a community. Amen.
Amen. Andrew, this is pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm just going to touch the cameras. They can't do this. Are they on?
Am I doing roll call?
Okay, it's on now.
Oh, they're on. Okay, shoot. Councilman Licciardi?
Here.
Councilman Messier?
Here.
Councilman Padula? Here. Council Vice President D'Amico?
Here.
Council President Goslin?
Here.
There is a quorum. Students Against Destructive Decisions presentation.
Okay, before we get started, I want to play a short video, and then Kimberly Maine and Ruth can come on up. So as everybody knows, anybody who's been involved in the past couple of years, I had SAD, Students Against Destructive Decisions, has worked with the council, has invited us to this youth center, had pasta dinners to do presentations to talk about tobacco, unsafe use, where it is in stores. And early last year, with the new council coming in, even though we're working on it before, this council approved an ordinance that would enforce stores not being able to sell tobacco products in the front of the counter, that all tobacco products would have to be behind the counter. And we just revised the ordinance recently to allow coupons in the town of West Warwick, because in the ordinance it wasn't allowing coupons at the time. So, but again, they continue working with us, and they're coming back with an update and some more ideas for us. So as I'm playing this video, Kim, just they received a $5,000 grant.
Yes, they received a $5,000 grant or award for this PSA.
Okay.
I'm really president of SAD, and this PSA is proof that this donation will be the end of tobacco.
What do you think of vaping or e-cigarette use?
Well, I thought it was better than cigarette smoke. I think the public needs to be more educated about it.
What do you think of flavored tobacco products and how they're marketed towards kids?
I think it's awful. It's a big marketing scheme.
Would you believe me if I told you that our generation is going to be tobacco-free?
All I can say is I know a lot less people now that smoke than for sure my generation.
You guys in the future. It's up to you.
Anyone can do what you guys can.
First free tobacco
Generation.
And again, they received a $5,000 grant for that article. If they want to come up and just introduce themselves and give us their presentation.
Speaking to this, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, is it
Just
on?
state your name and who you're here for. And
Okay. I'm Bailey Diorio from West Warwick High School. I'm Christian Capasso from West Warwick High School.
I'm Selena Tomaso from West Warwick High School.
I'm Gamma Bellinoy, also from West Warwick High School.
I'm Lance Preston from West Warwick High School.
Zoe Morrow from West Warwick High School.
Juan Loiza from West Warwick High School.
Laxmi Ayala from West Warwick High School.
I'm Jesse Leroy from West Warwick High School.
Me again. Good evening, everybody. So as I said, I'm Bailey Diorio, and I just want to thank you guys for having us here again tonight, and thank you for implementing a tobacco retail ordinance here in West Warwick. When we first went out to the stores, it was horrendous on how they were selling tobacco, how it was marketed, where it was placed, and because of you guys, that's changed a lot.
Now that the ordinance has gone into effect, we have visited all the stores again. We won't have the analyzed data back for a while, but we did notice a lot of positive changes. For example, there was much less advertising on the outside as well as the inside of the stores. Of course, there was still some advertising. We have clearly taken a step in the right direction. Another example would be how there was also much less price promotions and very little coupons. We also noticed an improvement on the placement of the products. Most of the stores had the products behind the counter and on their back wall. In a lot of the places, it was actually very difficult for us to see all the products being sold. One store actually stopped selling tobacco products altogether, which we were glad to see. These changes were great, but we still have much to do.
Many of the stores still had tobacco products near toys, candy, and ice cream. Although the products were not accessible, many were in glass displays on the front counter right above the candy and the ice cream at a child's eye level. Things like glass smoking devices and other tobacco products in these displays were flavored, colorful, and typically interesting to look at, which appealed the eyes of the youth. In general, several stores had the ice cream directly in front of these appealing tobacco products.
And now, with the Christmas season and all, kids are making wish lists, and we have too. Our first wish is to have all the stores to have tobacco products behind the counters instead of in pretty glass displays on the front of the counters. That didn't make sense? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So what we wish for is to have tobacco products in the back or in like a locked room like Rocks. Right now, some stores still have them in beautiful glass displays to appeal youth. And if we put them in the back, on the wall, or in a locked room, this will greatly reduce youth appeal.
We have also collected other data on 2 other occasions at the Thunder Mist Back to School event in August and at the Daring Middle School Moya event. We surveyed parents and some of the youth. We asked them if they think the smoking age should be raised from 18 to 21 using these cotton ball jars. And you can see this is a yes, this is no, and this is I'm not sure. Through the 2 events, it averaged out to about 75% saying yes. And we want the town council to know this because our school's second wish is to change the smoking age to 21. We believe it would be beneficial to teens if they had to wait until they were 21 to legally purchase tobacco products. The town of Central Falls and Barrington have already made this change.
Our third wish is to limit the amount of stores that may sell tobacco products. We currently have 32 stores that sell tobacco. One of them has been closed for over a year, and another one closed very recently and is now a different type of store. We feel that it would help improve the health of our youth if there was less youth exposure to tobacco, and in a town as small as West Warwick, 32 should be plenty.
So with that being said, I want to thank you again, or we want to thank you again for the support that you've given us and you continue to give to us. We also want you to know that we recognize that you guys are trying to do the right thing, so thank you. Is there something more that we can do in our town to limit access to tobacco products? Is there more information that you guys would like to know? And as you mentioned, we did host a dinner at the youth center. Would you like for us to do that again? Thoughts?
Yeah, as I brought to the council, I know I had a meeting with Kim and Judy, and we discussed the possibility of 21, and I think the state, and I stressed my concern there. I think the state law would actually supersede the town law. So we would, my direction to them was possibly going to our state legislators, Senator Satchel, Rep. Serpa, Rep. Morgan, and Rep. Nunes, and possibly inviting them to your next event and explain to them what you're doing. I know Rep. Serpa was at your event the very first time, and the ordinance that we passed, she suggested that the town work on it because it's out of the state's hands, but the 21, I think, would be more in the state's hands than the town's hands.
Right.
As far as the glass on top of the counter, we have to look at that because I think the ordinance says it must be behind the counter, and that would take local enforcement to do so. I think you've already are starting to do enforcement on this, or I know I received a email from Ernest Levine last week about enforcing it because he was unaware of the coupon ordinance change, and so I know he's going to start working on this. So I think the more meetings you have with him, also invite him to your next event, and anybody from the council, and I'd be more than happy to be there. I enjoy watching the work you're doing and the hard work and dedicated students you have become. Especially, I don't see Tommy here tonight, but coaching him on the ball field, and Zoe seeing her on the ball field, and seeing the kids that I seen grow up in the town and working to better the education on smoking and tobacco products, and helping people, and having a father who has lung cancer, it really touches at home. So I fully understand what you're trying to do, and I'll continue supporting everything you do.
Thank you so much. So we're thinking of hosting a dinner maybe after the new year, around January sometime, so mark your calendars. And so that's the end.
Thank you. Great
Thank
work.
you.
Thank you very much.
Great work.
Thank you.
Kim, would you like to say anything?
Thank you so much for having us here and taking the time and for playing our PSA. We're really pleased that we're one of the winners from the state. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're doing the right thing.
Thanks.
Good job.
Thank you.
Public comments will only be addressed to the town council, who will take them under advisement.
Mr. Goudreau? Sorry, Alan, he was...
Okay, you all have my card. I have had a traumatic brain injury, so I have difficulty talking at times. I wanted to thank the town council last month for putting up the orange chains around the parking area for the police so that they would stop blocking that sidewalk. I do have another request, is in the small park at the end of this area. There is an 8-inch drop-off going down to the lower sidewalk, and it's not marked. Just simply have that painted so that it's seen as it's getting darker now. It's easy to catch, especially in the wheelchair, and for safety's sake. And I moved to this town because my family was from here. My grandfather had changed the name from Gadori to Gadro. So I moved here because I have family relation and a family history here. I had planned on moving because of incidences, but after the incident of last month, I'm here for the long run, trying to make change here.
Thank you, Mr. Goudreau. Alan?
Should be on.
That went off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alan G. Palazzo, 5 Robin Lane, West Warwick, Commander, United States Navy, retired. And I'd like to make a couple of comments regarding an appointment that will be made today. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Judge Landroche on his appointment. It should be interesting, and I'll get into that a little later on, why I just made that statement. Secondly, when the discussion of that appointment comes forward, or should I say as it progresses tonight, I would hope that each of the council would present their reasons for voting the way they will, or perhaps already have in executive session. And regarding the appointment, some points of order. One, I would hope that the appointment would be made on the most qualified person. That being said, I look at the two candidates, and in my opinion, one is head and shoulders above the other. And I hope you took that into consideration. At the last council meeting, I heard reference made to technology. It's my understanding that all attorneys in the state of Rhode Island have to e-file and use technology. It's not rocket science. Thirdly, at the last meeting, I heard two references regarding age. And I don't think any appointment's going to be made based upon age, because that would be a violation of federal law. You can't discriminate because of age. Once upon a time I was young. I recall being one of the first people into West Warwick High School when they had lowered the voting age to 18. And boy, was I determined to cast my ballot that night. And finally, to me, it's all a matter of trust. I think all of you would admit that there's probably no person here that knows more about the West Warwick Pension Fund and its demise than myself. I've followed it over the years. I have stopped recently, but I did follow it. And with that said, at the last meeting, Mr. Goslin made a statement that I can't blame one person for the demise of the pension fund. And he was right, I can't. However, I need to make a statement regarding Mr. Landros's appointment and tenure on that board. He was appointed as the union rep to that pension fund to watch over it, to advise the employees of this town as to its status. And having attended several meetings, I observed something that on many occasions, Mr. Landros was either absent, he would appear for the quorum and then depart the pattern, as we would say in the Navy, or if there was a vote where something of concern would come up, he recused himself. The term we use in the military for that is plausible deniability. You can't be blamed for it. It's a fact. It just happened. When the pension was declining, I raised issues at this docket to past councils as to what was happening. I advised the union presidents over the years what was happening. And the usual response that I got was, oh, our rep says everything's fine, there are no problems, Palazzo doesn't know what he's talking about. When Mr. Landros was appointed, I'm not going to get into percentages, suffice it to say, we had one of the strongest pension funds in the state as to where it stood. You know where we stand today. I'm not going to get into the details. And as I said before, to me, it's all a matter of trust. The unions placed their trust in someone on that pension board, and in my opinion, they were unfairly advised, or perhaps misinformed would be a better term. The people of this town have placed their trust in you, as was pointed out in the prayer, to make the best decisions for this town. I would hope that you are worthy of that trust. As for the appointment, in my opinion, it's a foregone conclusion. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to ask for any rebuttal. I just wanted you to be aware of the past history regarding the pension and what happened, because none of you were there. I participated. I've always been a vocal, not spokesman, but critic of issues where I see something that's wrong. So, once again, Mr. Landrosch, Judge Landrosch, congratulations. And Mr. Lambert, better luck next time. Thank you.
Nick?
Nicholas Denise. So I know a few of you were on the council when I served on the pension board. I served on the pension board for approximately 5 years, about 3.5 of which I served as chair. And I also happened to serve on the board for approximately 2 years with Norman Landrosch. Norman and I didn't agree on policy very much on the board. We often butted heads, but I'd like to respond to some of the comments that have been made. First of all, I've always found Norman to be incredibly professional, incredibly knowledgeable, and somebody that had a very strong understanding of what was going on, not only in the town, but with respect to the pension. He was somebody that brought a lot to bear on the legal side, and he had a very strong understanding, and I thought a very keen mind when it came to some of the labor issues that we often had to deal with. In terms of his attendance, I always found him to be there. I always found him responsive, and he was somebody that I always felt put the time into a significant pre-read that we'd often have. And as far as the underfunding of the pension plan and the running of the pension over time, I think this council has dealt with this issue exhaustively in the process up to the 5-year plan, which I think has been very successful. There was a full funding of the pension with the stock market boom in the late 1990s. And then the town, for a series of years, stopped putting in its annual required contribution. There's no nefarious activity. There's no problems. It's been very well invested in terms of the consultants that have been brought in to work with the town. At the end of the day, it's a matter of math. And if the town, going back into the early 2000s, had properly, and not only the town, but also the school department, had properly funded the annual required contribution to the pension fund on an annual basis, the fund wouldn't be, still in critical status and still having to, look at a 20-year solution to pay it back. So I just like to say that I always, even though I didn't agree with Norman on very many things, when I served with him on the pension board, I always found him to be there. I always found him to be knowledgeable. I always found him to be respectful and to have the proper temperament. So that's all I have to say with response to Mr. Landrosch's service on the West Warwick Pension Board.
Thank you. Anna?
Anna Golderisi, Carpenter Court. I'm going to change the subject a little because I think obviously minds have been made up as far as whatever's going to proceed for the rest of the evening. My concern right now, and I think I reflect a lot of the people in this community, is here we are, it's December. We have gone through hell and back this summer, discovering things that should have been discovered much, much sooner than this summer. Truths that came out that, for some reason, the majority of this council denied over and over again and fought that truth coming out. So my question is as we're looking into a new year, what is this council going to do differently that's actually going to serve the people of this community? Because I see it as there has been voting for the sake of a voting block simply to disagree with one person that took the time to bring out honesty.
Angelo, can you mute that phone? Between the beeps and the rings during council meetings, you get the whistle every 20 seconds.
Relax. We'll fight later.
I'm not fighting anybody. I'm just saying it every time.
The point is this council's accomplished nothing. This council has accomplished nothing of any value in this since I've been coming, which was April 25th. That's almost 8 months. What have you people accomplished? What? I mean, I hear the discussion turn into Christmas trees and recycle bins and things that are meaningless, yet the last time anyone in this community heard anything about our financial status that mattered was when Mark Carullo was here. Not a word out of anybody here what this community should be preparing itself for. There is no option to not have a tax increase. There is nobody on this board, if you have half a brain, that could say there isn't going to be a tax increase, because there's no way to recover. You think there's not going to be a tax, then you're going to cut services so bad.
That people think we didn't raise taxes enough.
I'm telling you, I know they're going to have to go up.
There'll be a tax increase this year? Probably will.
But don't you think you owe it to the community to tell them how severe it's going to have to be, what services are going to be cut?
Until we get everything in writing, everything, I'm not going to say we're $40 million in the hole and we're 22, okay? I'm not going to say we're $1.7 million in the hole when we could only be 900. I want the facts. We've directed the town manager to get, we got an audit going on right now.
You're putting too much on one person. All of you should have at this point been looking at, have any of you looked at what budgets are going on right now? Has anybody gotten close to going over? Is there any problems? You can't tell me you have no access to this. We have a financial department whether we had a town manager or not. Bills come in, bills go out. So have any of you looked at it? Has anybody said, oh, this department's running a little high, this department's on track?
I have. Ernie, you want to address it? Sure.
Yes, good evening. Yes, we know where the expenses are. We track them weekly. The finance director has put together a comprehensive spreadsheet showing 3 years of actuals, current budget, year to date, and we are starting on projections. We are working on projections for 18 because we know 18 budget has to be retooled because of some errors. So we're working on that at the present time. We're also getting ready for 19 because that's around the corner. So to answer your question, yes, we know, have a good idea of what 18 is shaping up to be. We are also getting ready for FY19 budget. So it is being looked at, it is being tracked. There are issues that are current in 18 budget that are significant, and we are working to put those together and that we present it to the council very soon. And then once that's done, then that will be certainly addressed to the public.
I think the public has been
President,
extremely patient.
This portion of the agenda is supposed to be for public comment. It's not a question and answer session.
I didn't make it an answer.
Well, I disagree because I think the public put us here, and I think they have a right to speak unless you want to stifle them and not speak.
Last time I heard you're a public servant.
I disagree.
You're a public servant. You were elected into office.
I agree.
So I am Joe Public standing here as we have our solicitor whispering to our council president as usual.
I want to hear what she's got to say.
It's just at the point where people are so frustrated when we're owed an explanation for how this money disappeared. I hear the majority of this council say, oh, we don't need to look back. We don't need to put responsibility.
You keep saying the word disappeared. The money did not disappear.
Okay, not disappear, but there is money that was spent that was not approved by this council, correct?
We don't deny that. We've never.
Who did it and why? That's all the public wants to hear. Give the public some amount of trust to build on.
And the finance director obviously did it. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out.
You have not made any official declaration. All we have heard in the public is, we don't need to go back. What's the point? Maybe there's something more there that you don't know about if you look a little closer. But we don't know that, and we're going to keep asking why, until you answer that question.
We're getting the answers, Anna.
You're what?
We're getting the answers. We're not going to misinform you. As he just stated, he's doing an Excel spreadsheet of a breakdown of the last few years. Okay? The council has approved so many million to come out of that rainy day fund. The council did not approve so many million to come out of that rainy day fund. There's no denying that. We are working towards
the impression that the council has given prior to our new town manager showing up, okay, is that you're really not that concerned over explaining it to the public. And I think you owe it to us.
We're very concerned. I'm very concerned.
Haven't heard it mentioned since Mark Carullo left.
I don't want to misinform. Because Mark Carullo left, the town manager walks in to a fiscal nightmare and he's working on it, and he's not gonna sit there and give you misinformation.
But this is-
That's gonna be on social media within 24 hours.
This is why this council needs to support him more. Instead of,
Bernie, have you
honestly,
not seen support from us?
at the last meeting that I saw, I watched the video because I couldn't make it. You're giving him more responsibilities that he doesn't need right now. Like, could you check on the street lights? Why, so we could see the for sale signs at night?
Let me explain the town manager's role. Okay, yeah, we're giving him the responsibility, but he has department heads who work underneath
I
him.
understand that.
Okay, Joe Argenti's in charge of streetlights. He's our electrician. He's our electrical inspector.
I understand all
The building
that.
official, so we direct him to direct his department heads. We're not putting it all on him.
Does this council maybe think that a little bit more involvement is necessary at this point in time? Knowing do any of you know any of the job descriptions of the people that work in this town? You're supposed to make judgments on a budget where you have to cut departments, maybe cut people, lay people off. Do you know what anybody does? Does anybody on this panel really know what people do and why they do it?
I can pretty much say, at least Angelo and I, with 12
But that's
years,
only 2 people.
Listen, the rest of them have gone. They've gone to each department. I think I've given all 3 new council members the same instruction when they got elected. Meet your department heads. Go to the departments. Do a tour of the town. They have done that. And they continue. Some of the guys are in here. Jay, you're in here at least once or twice a week. I see you. Jay, you're in here all the time. John, you're in here.
I'm in here easily too.
Angelo,
2
you
times a
come in.
week.
You got people calling you. So I'm in this town hall. I talk to Ernie 2, 3, 4 times a week on the phones. I mean, do I put in 40 hours to 50 hours a week here? Absolutely not. That's
And I
not
don't
my
expect
job.
you to.
That is not my job. Do I ask questions? Do I get answers? Yes, I do.
You need to reassure this town that we are not going to end up in the same position as we were in May. When 3 of you sat here and swore that the 5-year plan was working great and everything was wonderful.
Actually, I just said, we haven't raised taxes enough.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you
That's
went,
part of the 5-year
you
plan.
went,
We went off the
you
5-year
went
plan,
with
yeah.
this information in May. The 3 of you, catastrophic events were going to happen if we sent the budget back.
Still can.
That was ridiculous.
Still can.
Nobody made a valued decision on that, and that was a council majority vote, all because nobody wanted to listen that there was a problem. And then come May, after the vote was taken, here we go through a summer of, yeah, this is true, that's true, this is gone, that's gone. It's not right. This council needs to actually represent the community, not their own needs, not their power. You need to represent the community as a whole, not just your own district, not what you think is, oh my God, he spoke the truth in front of people. That's bad. Let's all go after him. That's crazy.
Who's going after who, Anna?
No, for God's sake, come on, David, please.
Who's going after who?
Who's going after who, Angelo?
And one person's right in this room that's part of it. That turns me into ethics, but there's things coming up that I got going on now. They're going to find out just how solvent and who got bids for the pension board and who got their attorneys and who, what, and what. That's all being worked on. And believe me when I tell you, there's going to be hell to pay. And I don't do anything unless I have the facts. But you're right. And Dave, I apologize for keeping my phone on, but I did it on purpose, and I texted somebody to call me, knowing that you would tell me when you have a councilman right there on Facebook while the constituents are talking to him, and never once have you said anything. But that's okay. I just did that on purpose.
Angelo, I don't hear him disrupting. I hear your phone disrupting.
You may not hear it, but people are supposed to be paying attention.
But anyway,
on
wait a
this.
minute. I got the floor now.
Go for it.
I said the 5-year plan, I thought we were going to be 2 or 3 million in a hole. I was wrong because there's 6 to 7 that I know of in the hole. That 3 of them supported and put out
100%.
all kinds of emails and all kinds of letters. If this doesn't happen, we're in trouble. Taxes, we're 5th highest in the state. Going to 4th, working our way to 3rd, only by pennies. This is a 8 square mile community that people are strapped out. People can't sell their houses. I have realtors calling me. The houses have to be given away for them to make the sales. So our property values are going down. You look in the Sunday paper, you see Narragansett, Burrillville,
Angelo,
whatever,
West
700.
house values are going up 5%.
750,000, yeah, it's going up because they're selling them for nothing. You see $700,000 houses, $1 million houses, taxes are $3,000, $4,000, and $5,000.
Right.
I got a $350,000 house, so they say, my taxes are $7,500.
Ridiculous.
So, you know, you're going on and on and on. It's time for the people to stand up, put on councilmen that are going to stick up. We need a union for the people. You have unions representing everybody. The people should have a union. Not just 100 deep, 200 deep. People are the power. You have 17,000 voters in this town, and when only 1,200 come up, that's a sad situation.
I agree.
But then it's going to be too late, because this year's an election year. So I'm waiting to see who's going to vote for a tax increase, because I voted for no tax increase for the 12 years that I've been here, because I do what I do at home and as a businessman. If I don't have the revenue coming in, I don't spend over my budget. The good people of this town okay a budget, whether it's 84 million or 92 million. Not 96 million, not 94 million, not using sewer plant money to keep this town afloat. And that's the next thing I want on the next agenda. I want that money returned to the community, the surrounding communities, that we're breaking all kinds of laws that's keeping this town afloat for the past year. Sewer plant money, over $3 million for surrounding communities. If you have a disaster with a main sewer line, you're looking at millions, and we don't have the money. So that's the next thing that I'm going to fight. I want that money back where it belongs with the surrounding communities. I'm going to get a hold of Coventry Town Council. I'm going to get a hold of Warwick Town Council, and we're going to do this together. That money has to be returned in the enterprise fund that it was designated for. Then we'll see what's going on. But we're in deep trouble. And anybody who tells you any different is lying to you. That's all I have to say as of now.
That was pretty much my point.
I'd like to make a comment on one of the things you said regarding our town manager. I met with Ernie today for about 45 minutes, and he's doing quite a bit as far as finance. And we had a finance director.
Right.
We have a new finance director. We've had a lot of transition over the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 months or so. So for any manager to come in, and finance obviously is Ernie's background, that's where he's starting with.
Right.
And we spoke a little bit today about, you know, what issues that are going on in other areas. But this is like the first and the foremost that we have to handle. And yes, I agree with you at one point where I'd like to know, I know we spent it on bills, but we know we didn't okay it, we know other people okayed it, but where did it go? Right. That's my question. All right, we spent it on bills. What bills?
Exactly.
And to due diligence, and I agree that has to happen, but right now his number one is to figure out what we're doing right now.
Which was my point, that the council needs to take a more active role as to certain things that went on and certain things that are still going on in this town. And that's to look a little closer, notice things that maybe you guys haven't noticed before, because I'm sure there are a ton of taxpayers out there that could tell you stories. And it just seems like everybody's dancing around what's really going to happen. And I don't think it's fair. You have people going into the Christmas season thinking that everything's rosy because of a comment that was made by the council president regarding a discussion that actually you two had at one meeting, where we were talking about the calendar of meetings for the upcoming year and how long the ones in the summer were. And David, your reference was that we had our issues in the summer over finances. We didn't had. The word had does not belong in that sentence. We have more issues than this town even knows about. And when you hear things like that, you hear people getting to the point where they're disillusioned. Like, why bother? Because you people aren't going to listen anyway. You need to rebuild trust in this town. And if you can't rebuild trust, have a good time on the next election, because it's going to be brutal. People are tired. People are sitting there saying, well, we don't know who to believe. Why would 3 people vote against the truth? Why would they say that the 5-year plan is great and there's nothing wrong, and then a month and a half later, all hell breaks loose? So, you know, it would be nice for the 3 of you to start off by telling all of the constituents of this town why you took that stand.
What I would say is, based on the information that we were presented, and even following it for 6 years in that audience, we were told that we were in a better position than we actually were. When the interim manager came in, and thank God he did, The numbers were made clear to us.
People in the community
Nobody
knew
is
more than you
disputing it.
did.
We know what the numbers are. No, you just showed up 8 months ago. I was there 6 years listening, and from out there, it appeared as if we were doing better, and we were told we were doing better than we actually were.
So if I tell you there's $1 million sitting behind you?
Excuse me. Nobody's disputing the numbers at this point. We have clear numbers, and the manager's working extremely hard with a new finance director to put those numbers in order. Nothing is being hidden. If we need to work a little harder so that the public is more aware of those numbers, that's another story. But nobody's disputing that at this point.
I'm gonna say one thing what John just said. Jason Licciardi's just as new as John D'Amico
Right.
and Jason Messier. Jason says to me, why do you vote against the budget and against the 5-year plan? I gave him my reasons. Go get the 5-year plan, go get the budget and go through it. He took the time to go through every line item and say this don't work. Now he knows why I went against it. John, as an educator, should have been all over that.
Did you give us an alternative? Did you give us an alternative,
That's unfair.
An alternative?
You don't support something because you don't have an alternative.
That budget down.
Listen to
And that's what we were voting on, not the 5-year plan. That had already been voted on 3 years prior.
During the time span of that vote on that budget, the three of you, I asked on my Facebook page to
I don't pay attention to your Facebook page, I'm sorry.
Well, you did then because you gave an explanation as to why you were supporting it.
It must have been new.
Well, yeah, it was new. And you all gave your explanation as to why you were supporting it. Every single one of you.
Based on
So
numbers
let
that
me,
we
let me
have.
ask you a question, Angelo. You just said you voted against the budget because for the last 12 years you did not want to raise taxes. Where would we be today if we never raised taxes once?
Where would we be? Not spending what we're spending.
Bankrupt.
Not hiring $110,000 positions. Not hiring $50,000 positions that come in and go when they want. Not paying for their health care. There's a lot of things that you were Buffalo, not me. I caught on right away. Being a businessman, not getting a paycheck every week for what I did work or not. And you got incompetent help. You have a lot of help. You're discouraging in this town, and you just brought that up. You agree with that. And you're making people not give a crap about their job because you got 3 deadweight people that are working and discouraging them for doing the work they're doing. So that's where I'd start, where you don't go spend $10 when you only make $5. We just thought it was carte blanche. Oh, let's hit the taxpayers. You don't have to do that. If you're business orientated, you sit down. We have a more than competent town manager, a finance director. Before we couldn't get the right answer. Who's $1 million in the surplus? Oh, I got that covered. Don't worry about that position. We can take it out of this. And all the time he's going and signing papers where he's taking it out of rainy day fund. You should have been right on top of that. That didn't happen when I was president. You touched nothing out of that
What are
rainy
you
day
talking
fund.
about? You've been taken out of the rainy day fund since 2010. You were president from 2010 to 2012.
And there was $5 million in that rainy day fund.
Angelo, you keep saying 5.
I got all the figures.
3.4 was the schools.
Look, I'm not
You
going to
keep
get into
saying
it. All
that.
I'm telling you is it didn't work what you did.
Angelo,
the 5-year
but
plan
you
is a
keep-
flop.
But you keep talking about the 7 million,
And the
5
employees
million.
are going to pay.
But Angelo, you keep talking about 5 million, 7 million, 9
Let's put it this way. When Fred took over as a town manager, there was $3.2 million in rainy day fund. How much is in there now?
400,000.
And how much did you approve for him to take out?
1 point something million.
Where's the other $2 million?
There's actually about 1.7.
Thank you.
I'm not, Angelo, nobody's ever disputed that.
That's all I'm saying.
We're not arguing that.
What
I'm done.
disturbs me, to be honest with
Election
you,
time, I'll send out
and
my
this
flyers.
this is for you, David, and I'm sorry, but it was said at a meeting. You made the statement that you knew there was a problem in 2016.
No, I knew money was being used out of the rainy day fund, and actually, it was said to me, asking Fred Presley, saying, why is the money, and I pointed out to Giroux, because there was a few other things I circled. There was fireman's overtime, there was collection rate, and the rainy day fund. Now, let's face it, Anna, when an audit comes across, okay, you're doing your finances at home. This audit comes in and does, okay, you gotta pay this, you gotta pay that, do this. On paper, they're telling you how much money you have. Because right now, you look at the rainy day fund, there's $500,000 more in there than what you know of. There's $900,000.
But your audits were targeting all the problems and nobody listened.
500,000 of that is designated. So out of the
$3 million, Angela said when Fred came here. There's 900,000 there. 500 is designated towards the drainage on the neighborhood in the back over there, Shippey Avenue and all that. So if I sit there and say, yeah, there's 900,000, but I'm lying to you because there's only 400,000.
Why do we need the $2 million from the sewer enterprise fund if we're doing so great?
Angela,
How much money are you in a hole then?
Angela, we've talked about that. That's been going on since Wolfgang Bauer was here.
They never drained that account. The money was
Angela,
there.
they used it the whole entire time.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
It was never
Bernie
used.
said it. Bernie even said it. Came here and said it. Angela.
It was in that account that we were fighting to get it back because we knew you can't keep the books straight here.
It was
You're
done
gonna
by
ruin a
Wolfgang.
All right,
profitable
gentlemen, this
organization.
It was done by Wolfgang Bauer, Angela.
This is just making our meeting a little bit longer by going back and forth like this. The point is, the public has seen the council majority support things that weren't true, and the public is owed trust. And if it continues where every vote goes 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, and there's no real explanations as to why,
I can explain.
I mean,
Every vote I take.
this is ridiculous. Give me educated answers. Give me reasons. And don't tell me because you were misinformed, because anybody that looked at any copy of that audit, and if you sat here for 6 years and watched this and looked at budgets, you could have seen this coming. Anybody could have seen this coming. And yet, I got all of you sitting up there saying, oh, well, we just took his word for it.
Not all of us.
Thank you.
Thank
You can't, and you also can't say that you're not responsible because you weren't here when it happened. You were elected to make a change, and I don't see a change, and the public doesn't see a change, and the taxpayers want changes. So on behalf of that, I wish you all the best for the Christmas season, but come 2018, I really hope that something changes in this room, because if it doesn't, people are gonna go out of their minds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing none. Town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one piece of good news, that the State Department of Revenue has authorized our reimbursement for the motor vehicle phase-out funds. Tax bills went out in the mail Friday. Residents should be receiving them if they haven't already. Those are the reduced third and fourth quarter motor vehicle bills. And the next step will be, we have a reimbursement schedule, so we will be reimbursed the entire amount that we applied for. And then the next step will be, at some point in the future, reimbursing anyone who had paid their car taxes in full. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for the town manager from the council? Thank you.
Minutes of the previous meeting. Resolved that the minutes of the November 21st, 2017 executive session, November 21st, 2017 town council meeting, and the November 28th special town council meeting are hereby accepted.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consent agendas, license applications. Resolved that the consent agenda, having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. The only thing I have on this is late Friday night, Paula received a application for a temporary food permit for, and she received actually Monday morning when she came in. The event is 12/9, 8 to 5. They're gonna be at, there's a bicycle run, so they're gonna be parked at the Hay Street, right over there. And it's a food truck that's gonna be giving coffee, tea, cocoa, drinks. Does anybody have a problem with that?
No.
I just told I'd bring it up tonight, so just, can I get a motion to move to add?
Motion to move the license forward.
All in favor to add this?
Aye.
All right, now, do I have I had a motion.
Motion to accept, to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. There is any public comment on the licenses? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Those licenses that were just approved, Parent Associations of Pact B Centerville, George Lemoyce, George Heating, K&B Enterprises, La Mountain Inc.,
Barbara's Auto Sales, Divine Foods, Hannibal Cafe, West Warwick Shell, they've all been approved.
Consent agenda correspondence resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Appointment municipal court judge resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as the municipal court judge for the town of West Warwick effective January 1st, 2018 for a term of 5 years to expire January 1st, 2023.
I'll move the resolution for discussion.
Second.
Move discussion. Again, we interviewed 2 candidates last week, Norman Landroche and Ray Lambert. We interviewed. I think, we didn't vote in executive session. We just shared our feelings about the interviews. So at that point, I have somebody make a motion on.
I like that.
Mr. President, point of order. And my point of order is at the last meeting.
I'm gonna listen to his point.
It's a point of order, Mr. Williamson. Okay. At the last meeting, when there were witnesses here, you yelled at Mr. Palazzo.
Yep.
And you also said, and I was just sitting there, you just lost the appointment.
That's not what I said.
Yes, you did.
I said it's not helping your case.
I didn't have nothing to do with him here. So my point of order, Mr. Williamson, is he should recuse himself
But again,
from this vote.
So I got a question for you, Mr. Lambert.
Certainly.
Somebody called Mr. Bernero and said, no effing way is Norman Landroche going to get that job. Should that person recuse themselves? Have you represented anybody on this council looking for titles, paid,
What's
donated?
that got to do
I'm
with
asking,
it?
have you represented anybody on this council?
Yes, I have.
Okay, who? Then should he recuse himself?
Well, then
I will recuse myself
That's
if he
before,
recuses himself.
that's before the fact. Yeah, I'll recuse myself.
Okay, you recuse yourself, I'll recuse myself.
Wait.
There's no cause for recusal.
I'm just asking. I said something to him, you said something to Judge Bernero?
How do you know I said that to Bernero?
Judge Bernero told me.
Maybe he's a liar.
Mr. Gosnell, that's why I'm saying that you should recuse yourself.
You did it in public.
I did.
I didn't.
And I also brought something else in public.
Bias, is it not? You just lost.
He doesn't have No, Ray, I think, wait a minute, Ray, you forgot the main part I said. The 45 and a half years you've been practicing in town, you have never paid tangible taxes.
What's that got to do with it? No one's ever sent me a bill.
45 and a half years.
You come with your tangible.
So you owe $5
I'm not
You know what? I'm just gonna say, and again, I'm not.
I need that for the record, that he's not recusing himself.
All right. You know, I just want to say something. And again, Norman, you've been nothing but a gentleman. Every time I met you, I never had a problem with you. And I'm going to say it right out. And you know me, I speak the truth. I don't like the way it's being done. It's nothing personal against you, because I think you're a great guy. You always treated me and my family with respect. I can't recuse myself. I appointed your sister when I was president to a position, so I did it because I knew she was best for that position. Saying that, and I don't want you to take this to heart, but you look at the resumes, it was public. You look at, and Norman's a young, like David said, Ray Lambert's old. I'm just quoting what he said.
He was old.
He wants a younger thing, but I disagree. Norman was honest in the interviews. He had no experience with housing. He had less experience than Mr. Lambert. He was very honest, and I always respect him. He never come off with the wrong approach. And the way it's done, especially with one councilman here, perception. Don't know what's going on. First, he wanted to fire the town solicitor when he got elected. He changed his mind. He went with somebody called him. He went for somebody else. Perception. That's all I'm saying. My constituents calling me. I have the right to disclose my opinion. And it's only my opinion. No facts, just perception. I was told that the person, Councilman's sister, got a job at CCRI, and it was directed by the State House. Whether that's true or not, perception. Now all of a sudden, don't want to even put out the bid, the solicitor, not even to get a price, even though he had the votes, and I probably wouldn't have voted against him myself to remove him as solicitor, but I wanted to see the bids. He went against that. Don't know Norman Landros from anything, had nothing but problems during his election. The chairman of the committee did everything he could to help where it went straight, and he went against him also. So the perception I have, somebody burns your hand, you stick your hand out to get burnt again, or do you? What reason do you have to make an about face? That's my question, and I don't think it's going to end there. I think, and I might myself put in for an opinion on the Ethics Commission or wherever else I have to go. I'm speaking to another attorney and not Ray Lambert, that I want to see what avenues we can go for, because I think that something's definitely not right. So in that situation, I will be supporting Ray Lambert for the municipal court judge. And again, Norman, nothing against you. I think you're a great guy, whether you get the appointment or not. I think you'll do a fantastic job, but I'm loyal to the people that I think I got to be loyal to, just like you are, and everybody else. So at that, I'm going to be supporting Lambert.
I would just like to comment that I don't like to see things go in this direction. I think that...
You forced us to.
I didn't force anything. I think it's inappropriate to discredit either candidate. I think they're both good candidates. I think this town should be respectful of both candidates. I tried to take a different approach based on the fact that I do know one candidate better than the other, but I have seen the other one in action, and I am impressed by both candidates. I tried to break it down into something similar to the approach of any application process or where you interview people, and I looked at different categories because I tried to be as honest with myself as I could. I was glad we had the opportunity to interview. I looked at legal knowledge, which in my opinion, Mr. Lambert scored a bit higher, 10 out of, say, 10. I gave Mr. Landroach 8 out of 10. Interpersonal skills, and again, this is just based on my perception, based on the interviews. I thought Mr. Landroach scored higher. I gave him a 10 out of 10. I gave Mr. Lambert an 8 out of 10. And that's not to discredit you, it's just my opinion. I felt that, and this kind of goes in with listening skills, I thought that there was a lot of talking that took place. It was somewhat braggadocious at times, but that's just my opinion. As far as technology, I scored Mr. Lambert lower than Mr. Landroach. Judicial temperament, I gave them both a 10. Professional appearance, in terms of how I think someone should present themselves at an interview or as a judge for West Warwick, I scored Mr. Landroach higher than Mr. Lambert. And when I totaled it all up, my scores were higher for Mr. Landroach, and I will be supporting Mr. Landroach.
I'd like to say that I took a similar approach that Councilman D'Amico did. I didn't do a rating scale, but like I said at our special meeting, I went by two things. I went by what was in front of me on paper, and I went by the interview. I didn't ask anybody. It's my opinion. It's nobody else's, and I don't want anyone to sway that. So both candidates seemed very professional. Obviously, they're both attorneys. They both have experience. The thing that stuck out with me, though, was the experience that Mr. Lambert had with housing, with zoning, and with juvenile. And what gets me with the juvenile is people are coming before the court, and just because somebody is 18 doesn't mean they're an adult. There's some people that 18, 19, 25, maybe even 30, that age-wise they're 30 years old, but maybe mentally they're about 15. But that stuck out, and I think that's very important. And the fact that Mr. Lambert said he's ready for tomorrow, and I know with Mr. Landroach there will be a learning curve, as he said, and I'm not willing to take that chance right now. This is a 5-year appointment, so you never know what's going to happen within 5 years. And I just can't ignore the 45 plus years experience. And I'll be honest with you, I'm looking for the now. I think it's very important. I took the same approach as I did with our town manager and I did with our police chief. So I want to be consistent with this process. Not that I don't think Mr. Landroach would do a good job, because I do. I just think Mr. Lambert's ready tomorrow. So.
I take offense to the fact that all of us were put here to make our own decision, and when one of us has a different opinion, it always has to be personal. It doesn't always have to be personal. We have tough decisions to make sometimes, and it's not always personal.
It's not personal, just facts.
I wasn't
Perception.
necessarily addressing you, but
I
you
want to
took
address
offense
it.
to that then.
Yeah, I do. But that's fine.
Everything doesn't have to be
That's a
personal.
compliment when you offend me.
Okay.
My personal opinion, and I did a little different method. Obviously, I sat here through the interviews last week. I look at things a little different. Also, comments that were made in executive session. You know, personally, I think I want to keep those minutes open because I was lied to in executive session, first of all. Second of all, I went on what I think Ray has the housing experience, but I also interviewed Judge Bernero for a half hour, saying which way does this court need to move forward.
Why do you keep looking at me?
No, I'm sorry. I interviewed the clerks on what they would like to see, not who they'd like to see, what they would like to see in this position. So again, the clerks, I interviewed members of the police department who are in this courtroom on a monthly basis, what they want to see, not who they want to see. I did ask one opinion and say, if it was one or the other, who would you like to see? Nobody said anything bad about either candidate. Okay? Nobody. I can honestly say I've supported Ray in the past. I put him on the canvas board. I put his girlfriend on the canvas board, which at the time I thought was a conflict, but I still went ahead and did it anyway. I didn't knock you off. Your state job knocked you off. Again, I think Ray is very professional. I've dealt with Ray. Ray and I can have good laughs. You know, I don't want to be fighting with Ray Lambert on any level because personally, I've known him for 12 years. I've known Norman for 12 years. Okay? I've dealt with both of them. Norman is very professional also. He's always council president. How you doing? How's your family? Whatever. I even went on to talk to members. He didn't even let his mother know he applied for this position until the other day. And he doesn't even know I know that. I just know that. Okay? I've had my constituents call me. 7 constituents call me to email. When I tell them my reasons, they can understand it. And at this point, and I said it to Ray, if I voted 2 weeks ago, I was supporting Norman Landroche. And I'm still supporting Norman Landroche here tonight. So Jay, it's on you.
Yeah, so as I was saying, everything is not personal. I think they're both good candidates. I think they're both qualified. But at the end of the day, we're put here to make tough decisions. And different people are going to have different opinions on whether those are right or wrong. That's all.
So do I have somebody to move a name?
I'd like to move the name of Norman Landroche as municipal court judge.
I'll second.
I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
No.
Jay?
Yes.
Angela?
No.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Congratulations, Norman. Good luck in your new role.
Congratulations.
Appointment to the West Warwick Housing Authority.
How many openings on here? 1?
2.
Yes.
There's 2 openings?
Resolved that the town council hereby appoints the
No,
following
1.
individuals to serve as
There's 2.
to serve as members of the West Warwick Housing Authority for the town of West Warwick for the term to expire 11/2022.
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second.
I'm sorry,
We moved in second. All in favor?
Laurie Ruggieri?
I moved the name of Laurie Ruggieri.
All right.
She lives in the manor.
And again, I've talked to Laurie. She served on BOTA. I talked to her about some concerns, and I think she'd do a great job on that board. She is a constituent of mine. She does represent Clyde Towers, and Clyde Towers does need some representation, especially with their elevator issues and everything else. I think it'd be very.
I agree.
She'd be very vocal in an advocate for the tenants there, so.
I agree.
With that being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Do you do both?
You want to do both?
Yeah, I'm
You gotta move the name as
I'll move the name of Eileen McNeils? McNeilis. She also lives in
Main Street.
Clyde Tower. Need a second.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Can someone vouch for her? I don't know her.
I honestly don't know.
Is she here?
It's your ward, I don't know who she is.
I mean, I'd like to talk to her. I know I spoke to Lori. So if you
Well,
guys
you want to
want-
table this one?
Yeah, I table
I
this
make a motion to table to further discussion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Appointment for the Pension Board. Resolved that the Town Council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the Pension Board for the Town of West Warwick with a term to expire 11/18/19.
I'll move the resolution for discussion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
Who is,
Al Hero?
Is he here today?
Al?
Al's?
It
Al's
sounds
a-
familiar. Where's Al?
He's a pensioner.
Huh.
He's a former firefighter.
Thought so.
Um,
How many appointments do we have that are on?
there's,
I know we always have one from municipal and
we
one
just,
from
we
police
just
and
appointed
fire.
Helene, but there was 3 openings. So Helene Anderson, so there's still 2 openings. If you fill one with Al Hero, there would still be 1 opening remaining.
For a lay person.
Mhm.
Does it make a difference?
It don't make a difference on who it is. It's just
I'll move the name of Al Heru.
I'll second.
moving second. Discussion. Al's had, he's a retired firefighter. He now works for the state. You know, I think he has a vested interest in that pension, and I've kind of, way back when myself, I know when I first came on the council, I was kind of against so many employees being on the pension. But with that being said, I think it's their pension. They would protect it. They would pay attention to the spending a little more than, I mean, let's face it, we can't go to every pension meeting. We don't see everything that goes on at those meetings unless you're being told or heard from. So I think with Al being on there, it'd be an asset, so. Any other discussion?
I'm just watching. I'm losing.
Was there a second in my motion?
Sorry, I got 8 missed calls from my dad.
Do you have to take that?
I'm gonna
Just
take it real quick.
take it.
Was it seconded?
Yeah. It was seconded by, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Discussion action, pool table licenses sponsored by Council President Goslin.
All right, so this came before me. There was an email going back and forth. Al and I had a conversation, and Elaine somehow got involved with the pool table licensing at Phoenix Sportsman's Club. Saying that they're not a coin-opt,
They're
not a
free.
coin-opt.
Just members use
Well,
it.
they are coin-opt, but they have the coin slot open. So Al felt that they should not have to pay a license fee on that pool table license. I somewhat agreed with him via email, but then after speaking to the clerks who issue those licenses, the Eagles offers free pool, the Holy Ghost offers pool. VFW, but they all pay their pool table license of $100. Now, there's nothing saying that they can't close that change slot and start charging, even though the license is $100. So my question to the council is, how do you want to handle pool table licenses moving forward? And I told them I'm not making the decision on my own, that this is a council decision. Me personally, I think if it's there and it has a coin, if it's not a basket pool table, meaning
Anybody
balls-
can pick up the balls.
Yeah, anybody can pick up the balls at the corner. I think that's a non-chargeable pool table, but the pool table that goes into the pocket, down the chute, and they have to push the slide to get it, should that be a coin-operated?
I agree.
You've been in the pool league all your life, Angelo, you know, and
We open,
I grew up around pool tables.
they
so
open the tables maybe Saturday and Sundays for the tournaments, and then they close them and they get money. It's $1 a game. I know when I was part of the VFW league, they were pulling in anywhere, opening the table Saturday and Sunday, they were pulling in $1,000 a month then. It was 50 cents a game. So I think $100 is fair, and how do you stop them for, like David just said, closing the coin operative, and then they're gonna get a fee during the week. So I think $100 is fine, and like David said, if it's got rawhide pockets where the balls don't return, they stay in the pockets, that's a different situation we'd have to look at. But as far as a coin-operated machine, I wouldn't open up that can of worms.
Any other discussion? Your opinion? Jay?
I think if, yeah, they need to pay the license if they're gonna collect money. If they're not gonna.
But they could sit there and say that we're not collecting money, but yet it's a slot on the side. So, you know, that's what we're running into. The Phoenix Sportsman's Club is saying they're not collecting money.
They're saying they're leaving the table open all the time?
They're saying, but who are we? We can't go down there every day to see if they're closing.
It's $100. It's $100 a year.
$100 a year.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair.
It's very reasonable.
All right, so we'll leave it at that.
I apologize. My son got a hold of my dad's phone, called me 8 times. I thought something was going on at home.
I don't blame us. Emergencies happen.
Lower speed limit signs in neighborhoods, sponsored by Councilman Padula.
I brought this up 5 or 6 months ago. Constituents in residential like Hilltop, Platt, Crestwood, Platt, Brookfield Hills, Platt. The sign's at 20 miles an hour, which was the law, I think our solicitor said. And we were gonna do something to see if we can get the speed limit down to 15 miles an hour. So I told my constituents I would get back to them. I never got an answer from it.
I thought at that time we sent something to General Assembly. Have we not heard back, or where does that stand?
You're not gonna hear anything until January, but the issue is there's state law, and there's also obviously town ordinances, roads like that are at 20 miles an hour, so to address them, because I think the councilman's right, when those speed limits were put into play years ago when cars were slower, but that's gonna have to go before the General Assembly on those particular roads.
And they don't go back into session until January.
So that'll be heard after they start in January.
I would have the manager send the reps and senators from West Warwick a detailed letter requesting the relief sought in the form of a bill, and with the House and Senate kicking around.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion on that? Thank you.
Upcoming appointments, Planning Board, alternate member, 5-year term, Technology Committee, Ward 1, 2, Ward 3, Ward 2, 1, Ward 3, 1, Ward 5, 1, all to expire 12/31/18, Sewer Use Tax Board of Review, 1 alternate member with a term to expire 10/2021, Westwood Housing Authority, 2, term to expire 11/2022, Pension Board, 2, with a term to expire 11/18/2021, Juvenile Hearing Board with a term to expire 12/2017, Board of Assessment and Review with a term to expire 3/9/2019.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
See you in 2 weeks.
Okay, don't worry. Yeah, right. And I'm vacuuming.
Norman, congratulations.
Better to adjourn. You better to adjourn today.